Well, we need to talk about Render Token and its potential to 100x from here. Oh man, Render Token up over 300% in just this first month of 2023, up another 10% today. Look at this incredible run, and a lot of excitement has come towards this project after a potential Apple integration, which I want to dive into a little more in this video. This is a project which initially came to my radar well over a year ago. I made my first video on Render Token just about a year or so ago. I'll link that up so you can get my thoughts up on there. We were in a bull market then, and even then I liked the potential of Render. We're still at a lower price target than we were a year ago on Render, still far off all-time highs, which we're going to get into. I'm going to share my price target. We're going to look at the charts. I'm going to dive into the Apple integration as well. Smash up the likes. Don't forget to subscribe. If you want to buy Render or any other token, you can do so using BYBIT. Links in description. That's the platform I personally use to trade. Now, first and foremost, huge disclaimer, I'm not your financial advisor, right? I'm just about barely my own financial advisor, and here on this chart, you certainly do not want to be chasing green candles. We are up almost 300% here, well over 300% here, as you can see, 360% here just in the last 32 or so days. Incredible move by Render, and the momentum has been really strong. If I bring out the EMA ribbon, look at that extension from the EMA ribbon. There is no cooling off going on right now. We're going to try to identify some key levels. I'll share with you where I would be interested in topping up my bag of Render, but also why is it an important project? Now, we need to start off by understanding what is Render Token. So what does it do? And before I go into the nitty-gritty of the article, let's just explain it in layman's terms, because a lot of people get confused. What this is, what Render Token allows you to do is access decentralized computing power. Okay, so let's say there's two types of people. On the one hand, you've got somebody who's a bit of a freelance creator. They like to create stuff, movies, graphics, 3D animations, renderings, and they don't have high computing power, right? These kind of GPU units are very, very expensive, and they might only need it once or twice a year. Why would you go and buy that type of equipment? On the other hand, you've got huge companies, people with huge computing power who aren't using it. Right? They might use it sometimes, but there's times through the night, during the day, certain weeks where they're just not using that computing power. So what Render has created is almost, well, it is a P2P network, right? It's where you can use the decentralized system to say, hey, I put my hand up, I need to buy some compute power, some rendering power. And the other people on the other side can operate as nodes. They can say, hey, we've got extra computing power. We can allow these creators to buy some off of us, and they could do so using the Render Token. Very, very good idea. Something which, like I said, initially came to my radar well over a year ago. And why did I like this idea? I've always said here on this channel, I want to focus on the picks and shovels. In other words, the infrastructure plays, but that's just a fancy word. I like to say picks and shovels, right? What are the things that if crypto becomes mass adopted over the next 4, 5, 6 years, what are the rail tracks from which everything is going to be built? All the beautiful things are going to be built, which we haven't even imagined yet. What are they going to be built on? They're going to be built on good layer 1 smart contract platforms, right? They're going to need data oracles like Chainlink. We're going to need layer 2 solutions like Polygon Matic. We're going to need rendering solutions. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily Render will be the standout achiever. There may be competitors, right? We know that. Apple was not the first smartphone, right? We know that. But right now, who else is doing this at the level that Render is doing? Now, huge caveat, we're going to get into the market cap. It's still a very small project. We have to be very careful with how much of our portfolio we allocate to this and how degen we go, right? But it does have room in my portfolio. There are some limitations in tokenomics. I'm going to bring those up as well, just so I'm fully transparent. But I just love the idea that it's an infrastructure play. Think about it. AI is not going anywhere. Metaverse is only going to get bigger. NFTs are only going to get bigger. Right? The access and the need for high-level compute power continues to increase. It's not going anywhere. And that's why, for me, this was a very, very, very clever project, and definitely one which was on my radar, and this is on my radar. Now, then you want to go and start doing your due diligence, right? The team is very good. Jules is obviously the founder, but you've got decent people behind him for a 500 million market cap project. This is good, right? You've got the Mike Winkleman from Beeple here on the team. You've got the founder and CEO of the Brave browser. If any of you use Brave browser, they've got their own token with it, so he understands that as well. chairman and CEO from Bad Robot. They got the co-founder, co-CEO of WME, which is a huge company in that space as well. So they've got some real good corporate experience on their team, and this is not to be snubbed at for a project which currently, after this pump we've seen, is sitting at 500 million market cap. You got to look at this, and it's still a small project. So if you haven't watched my video where I go through whether it could 100x from there, and I did that when Render Token was at much higher levels, right? We were a bit more still in, we hadn't gone for our bear market just yet. Even then, I thought it had crazy potential, and now it's sitting here at just shy of 1 billion in fully diluted. And this is the bit I did want to share with you, right? Yes, we want to get excited. Yes, we can look at it, but I've got to share with you some of the bits which make me gives me a little bit of room, because I'm just going to bring that into screen there. 47% circulating supply. Okay, now look, it's not terrible. I've seen much worse. It's not fantastic. I mean, I always look at something like Fanta with 80% circulating supply. You can see here, just shy of half is in circulating supply, and that's why your fully diluted is sitting at 1 billion. So don't get caught out by saying, oh, I'm buying now at a valuation of 500 million. Really, you're talking about 1 billion. So it's still small, but it's a decent small, right? It's a decent size one, definitely on people's radar. And you're not getting it at that hugely cheap valuation. But then we need to jump in the charts and go, hang on a second. Hang on 1 second, sir. Let's put up the weekly chart and go, hang on. This looks scary, right? We don't want to chase weekly candles. Oh, I've missed it. Do this. Zoom out. Just do that. Just do that double click there on TradingView. Get yourself zoomed out and remind yourself that this was a project when at its all-time high here was sitting closer to $8 on that spike. Insane. And you're sitting here at $1.80. Okay? So if you take your Fibonacci extension from swing low to swing high, which is what I placed on the charts here, your Fibonacci ratio brings you to 0.618 to the 0.65 level. If you don't know what this means, it's ijaz.uk/TA. I show you how to do my Fibonacci's. I show you the EMA ribbon, head and shoulders pattern. Guys, so many of you still ask me in the Discord, like, how do I do this? It's all there for free. Just for free, not charging for it. Go use it, take advantage of that so you know how to do all this stuff. So comfortably here, for this to retrace back into the Fibonacci golden pocket, that brings me to render of $5.50 to $5.80. And for me, if I'm holding a project and it can't get back into its Fibonacci ratio in the next bull cycle, that's actually a failing. So if I'm buying now or buying on the way up here and DCing, because I was DCing through the bear as well, and we get to, you're looking at that Fibonacci, and we get to that Fibonacci ratio and don't go any higher, I would actually consider that a fail. But you can't complain, right? You still would have 4x your money. Right, so it's a nice way to fail where you're only 4x your money. Now, more excitingly is, okay, what if we go back to all-time highs? And then we're talking about $8.80. Much better. Fibonacci extension, $14, okay? $14 is now giving you a 7x on your money. But here's what's crazy. I still think this is a little bit conservative, right? So again, go watch the video. It's good to go watch that one because I did that one in a bull market where the prices were much more elevated. But the reason that's useful is sometimes now in the bear market, something like, this, like $14 here is a 7x from where we are at. So if you do a 7x of the fully diluted market cap, that's giving you 7 billion in fully diluted, which is actually only 3.5 billion in your market cap. Right? So then to go put it into perspective, when you're looking at how everything's doing now in a bear market, let alone in a bull market when Bitcoin's pushing closer to $1 trillion and beyond, and Ethereum's tearing faces off. But even now in this subdued market, you've got a project like Solana sitting at 9 billion. I'm talking 3.5 billion, right? To go to that Fibonacci extension. Solana, even despite all of its other issues, is sitting there at 9 billion. Now, it's important to understand we can't just compare render tokens straightforward to these smart contract platforms. It's slightly a different play, and therefore when you're trying to compare it, it's a little bit harder, which is why a lot of people try initially stay away from these types of projects because they can't immediately compare it to anything, right? It's similar to like Chainlink, where initially when Chainlink started, there weren't many competitors, and then others spin up. Same with things like Polygon Matic. They were the first layer 2, and then others start to spin up. It'll be the same with Render Network. When they prove the use case and they start doing the work, then others will try to do the same thing, right? It's the highest form of flattery is when people start to copy you. But they've got the early mover advantage. They're the first. As long as they continue to do well and continue to do partnerships, it should stand them in good stead. So for me, comfortably, that 14 level is where I'd be looking to. And if my investment wouldn't return that in a bull market, I'd consider that a fail in my portfolio. But it's still worth a little shot in my portfolio. And it's small, guys. It's not a crazy big part of my portfolio. It's a small part of my portfolio, which I continue to DCA into. Now, I personally would not be chasing green candles right now. I'm going to show you where I'd like to purchase. But before I do that, we need to talk about the little Apple thing going on, right? Guys, I had to research this because loads of people are like, oh, there's an Apple integration. And look, you know what price action's like, right? And this is exactly why I'm not chasing the candles right now. It's not really an Apple integration, right? Render fans might hate me. It's an indirect integration. Let's call it that, right? So if you go back to it, the founder, Jules, also was the founder of Otoy, right, which is a cloud rendering company. He set up a product called Octane Render, which allows you to do a bunch of rendering, right? Fine, let's go jump past that. Then what he did was he created in December Octane X, which is a smartphone version of that same software. That app is now available to download on iPads, not even iPhones yet, but it's available for you to download on iPads and use for a bunch of different things that you want to use. So it's not really a proper integration. It just means that the app is currently available to download on iPad. So just don't get caught up in all this hype too much. Look, it's a good project. That doesn't diminish the fact that it's a good project. It's a good project because they're working on something which is riding on a really big wave. If AI continues to grow, if metaverse continues to grow, if NFTs continue to grow, do you, just when you sit there and think rationally, do you think the need for GPU processing is going to go up or go down? If you look at your own behavior, do you do more GPU processing now than 10 years ago or less? Right? And then if you think about all the excess GPU rendering that people have in their houses, loads of kids and teens and all sorts of adults as well, sitting with loads of huge gaming machines, but they're only gaming for a couple of hours. What are those machines doing otherwise? You could be earning render token, right? And that is where I love the core of good crypto projects, right? Because it's not just people buying render token for speculation that the price is going up. People should be buying render token to then carry out GPU processing. And when you have the underlying demand where people actually want your product, that is when you have crazy months like this where render token is one of the biggest movers. Right there behind my big head, there you go, render circle, one of the biggest movers in the crazy month that we've just had in crypto. Cool. Right, so where am I buying the dip? Guys, you know I don't like chasing green candles. For me to be jumping into this, I need it to come back to some level of support. Now look, when these things start moving, sometimes you never get in, right? So you got to say, oh, you know, it may never get to the price I want to get to, but I'm going to start nibbling. Let's say I wanted to put $1,000 into render. I'm going to split it into chunks of 10. I'm going to drop $100 now. If it falls a little bit more, I'll go in another 100, and ideally I'd take bigger chunks like 200, 300, 400 the closer we get to our EMA ribbon. A beautiful level to get to would be here, right, back at 92 cents. Now will that happen? We don't know. It depends on the wider market cooling off and if Bitcoin cools off. If we do, that would be a lovely position for me to top up. Otherwise, anything closer to the EMA ribbon would be a nice move here. Let's also jump up to the weekly, because sometimes the weekly tells you a little bit more, and let's bring out the VPVR. You can see here that we've cleared the high volume range. So this is where render can really start to stretch its legs. And a lot of altcoins are like this, and Bitcoin as well. Because remember, Bitcoin fell very quickly after March, April time, right? It just dropped like this, and many altcoins did the same and just followed. And therefore, on the way up, once we clear this type of resistance here, we should have a clear run up on many altcoins. So watch out for this. This move could be quite big if Bitcoin can continue through to the next leg. But go watch my previous video. Bitcoin's got to clear through that weekly EMA ribbon and get past it. So for me, I want to bring out the Bollinger Band as well and see, can we somehow come back down to the center line? Will we ever? Doesn't look likely here on the weekly chart. We've broken out of structure here on the weekly Bollinger Band. So the best bet continues to remain on the daily. Can we come down back into that EMA ribbon? Okay, so EMA ribbon is where I'm looking at $1.18, $1.20. But even then, if I wasn't happy with the position I had in my portfolio, I would just start nibbling. The thing with these projects, they do start to run. So wait for those red days and just start nibbling. It might not be exactly the price target you want, but if personally you want to start building a position, you know, you end up in this fallacy where you keep waiting for it, but good projects will just continue to move and out of your grasp, right? There's no guarantee it's going to come to the bus stop to pick you up. So there you have it, guys. Another great token to put on your radar is Render. If you haven't thought about this project before, if you haven't come across this project before, let me know in the comments. If you're already familiar with it, also let me know in the comments. Let me know your game plan about Render. If you don't like Render, let me know why. I'm always open to suggestions on hearing good and bad about various different projects. I'm just sharing my research with you guys, not financial advice as always. Don't forget to check out the TA course, ijaz.uk/TA. Free TA course, 10 years of experience plus, and I'll see you in the next one.